Joe Higgins, I want to bring you in. As a recently elected MEP, how worried are you about the loss of sovereignty, or has your experiences in Brussels persuaded you that that's not going to happen?
No, what I'm worried about is the massive extra thrust towards neoliberal economic policies that's enshrined in the Lisbon Treaty. Now, the European Union Commission is hopelessly compromised in regard to the Irish debate. On Tuesday, we had the spectacle of the EU Transport Commissioner, Mr. Tajani, on a junket around Ireland on a RyanAir jet, escorted by its chief executive, Mr. O'Leary, from Dublin to Knock to Kerry and back to Dublin, campaigning for a yes vote.
What's wrong with that?
Mr. Tajani is the Transport Commissioner. He is the regulator for the massive transport industry.
Didn't he stop Micheal O'Leary taking over Aer Lingus?
Hold on. RyanAir is one of the major corporate entities providing transport in Europe, and here is this regulator being escorted around the country. Now, and the media finds it amusing, which is incredible. What would the media say if, for example, the Bailey brothers brought the chairman of Planola out on a pub crawl for a night? This is incredibly compromising, and it shows that the EU Commission has no respect for the debate in reality. But the key point, to come back to your question, is that in the economic section of the Lisbon Treaty, the removal of the absolute veto against our health and education services being put into the mix for trade and services in the World Trade Organization process. That is a very sinister development that can have very downsized implications in the future.
One second, Mr. What's so good about our health and education services at present that you want to keep them the way they are, than perhaps using European models?
Well, of course, under this absolutely catastrophic government of Fianna Fáil and the Green Party, we have a major crisis in our health service. They are actually bringing in these for-profit American corporations, notwithstanding the fact that many of them have been found guilty of serious fraud in the United States. But so they're giving us this unjust two-tier system. I do not want more of that, which is what more privatization would provide.
Okay,
I want the opposite.
I want to come back to Declan Ganley on this question in a second.
Publicly funded,
but
one
briefly,
tier.
Micheal Martin, you want to briefly respond?
Yeah, it's fundamentally incorrect to say that the capacity or competence of any member state over health and education is in any way affected by the Lisbon Treaty. It is not. And indeed, the specific and exclusive responsibility over health and education services of member states is protected by the Lisbon Treaty, and has always been. The commercial policy, the common commercial policy that Joe is talking about, has been there long before Lisbon, and relates to the capacity of Europe to negotiate trade agreements with third countries.
Why isn't
that's the bottom line.
All right, I'll come back to you in a second, Joe Higgins. You raised a point that I want to put to Micheal O'Leary. Why are you sucking up to the EU Transport Commissioner? Is the trade-off for this that you hope that you'll be allowed to take over Aer Lingus in the future?
This is the problem with these debates, is you get all the bloody boring politicians repeating the same old cliches all the time. I went on a lobbying campaign on the west of Ireland to bring home to them, you wouldn't have RyanAir without the European Union, without deregulation, without competition. If you look at the record of the Irish government and the Irish Department of Transport, RyanAir would have been strangled at birth, because they like monopolies like the DAA and CI. They like Joe's policies on nationalisation. I looked up today, by the way, Joe's economic policy on his website. It doesn't exist. It consists of nationalisation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want this economy in the future run like our health service...
We're going to get to the economy in a little while, Michael.
Vote for Joe.
We're going to get to the economy. I'm about to bring Declan Ganley on this issue about self-determination, political control, sovereignty. What's your position on this?
We're handing over 60 key areas of sovereignty. We are dissolving the European communities established since the 1957 Treaty of Rome. We are establishing the Union with legal personality. It makes us citizens of itself, it says in the treaty, in addition to our member state citizenship. Its laws are supreme. Now, that is already established jurisprudence, but they become supreme with us as citizens, and it has legal personality, which makes it a bit different. Its laws trump Irish laws. It states they have primacy. Don't say no, because it does. It states they have primacy over the member states if you actually read the treaty. And the fact is that we do have commissioners coming over here, Mick, trying to put a gun to our heads and, as you put it, bribe us to vote yes. The problem is we are giving up a lot in this deal, and in return we are getting exactly nothing that we don't already have. I mean, Mick called the EU Commission a few years ago, he said the EU Commission is Stalinist. The EU is an evil empire that is psychologically and morally bankrupt. The Brussels functionaires are incompetent peasant politicians, morons and gobshites. That was in July 2006. And now you're going around with this Transport Commissioner, giving him a free chicken lunch on RyanAir, and we all know nobody gets a free lunch on RyanAir.
Michael O'Leary, respond to that, please.
I just can't help myself. But if we're going to read back on what people said before, let me quote what Declan said on the 8th of June. I sought a democratic mandate. I didn't get one. That's how democracy works. And as I've said, I can take no for an answer. I will not be involved in the second Lisbon campaign. I've said that up front. I've got to go back to work. Declan sadly has joined one of the 500,000 unemployed in this country because he apparently has no work to do now. He wants to go back campaigning. You can't get elected. Nobody wants you to elect you. Look, accept no for an answer, Declan. Bugger off.
Well, Mick, the fella sitting beside you there, Micheal Martin, got 11,226 votes that have him sitting making key decisions for our country. I didn't win a seat, but I did get 6,638 votes, which is several more than the 5 that you said I wouldn't get.
I know, but Dana got more than you.
And Mick,
Could I just make a point?
Can't get as many votes as Dana.
Snowdrops and daffodils remind me of you, Mick. But the fact is, if anybody's singing soprano, we know where the Commission have got you gripped, and you are singing their tune, Matt.
Minister Micheal Martin.
I think there's just flip-flop. I think we got to ground the debate on fact. Declan said earlier, we're giving away a power in 60 areas. We are not. There's no new exclusive competence given to the European Union as a result of the Lisbon Treaty. We are sharing sovereignty on a number of other areas to do, like energy, for example, which is a good thing, actually, because I think Europe can do more for us in energy security than we can do on our own. In terms of the primacy of law, since we joined the European Union, there has always been a provision that where we agree to share power with Europe, where we agree to share power with the European Union, that we abide by the rules that we agree with others, that we actually negotiate with others, and we agree to abide by those that are the outcome of negotiations of 27 member states. So again, the Lisbon Treaty does not create any new situation in terms of primacy of EU law, and we have fundamental protections in the key areas of foreign and security policy, in taxation, and a number of other areas that we have designed in terms of the right to life and others, where we have as a country decided that these are core issues for the Irish people that we want to protect.
Okay, Patricia McKenna, you want to get in on this?
Too.
Yeah, well, they criticised Joe and said he was wrong a few minutes ago, but clearly we're losing the veto in areas like health and education. And if we're losing the veto, it means we're losing the opportunity to block things we do not want. And at the same time, the mechanism that will be used to decide the policy is with voting in the Council of Ministers. And as Declan pointed out, our vote is reduced to over half its current size, and Germany's is increased by over 100%. And don't come back with this thing about, there's a double majority. There is already a double majority existing within the Council of Ministers, but what you're really trying to remove from people's minds is the idea that Ireland's voting strength is massively reduced, and we lose
okay, I'm going to take one from each side before I
bottom line on that. The bottom line is this: qualified majority voting is good for Ireland. All of the big decisions that were good for Ireland, such as the creation of the single market, was done by qualified majority voting. It was very good for Ireland, actually. We should welcome the fact that we're getting a decision-making process that's faster, quicker, and more effective. But it's a new system, and the new system gives us greater say because it means there has to be agreement among 15 member states, at least 15, which gives Ireland an equal
Joe
say
Higgins,
to Germany. And I think that's the bottom line, that's the fact.
No, I'm sorry, Marian. Micheal Martin jumped in on top of you there. Joe Higgins, you're getting the last word before the break.
Yes, Article 208 or 207 of the Consolidated Treaty does remove the absolute veto on trade in health and education. The Minister cannot deny that. Furthermore, the Commission and the Council gets major new powers to hammer countries that have serious budget deficits and have economic crisis. Seriously increased powers to demand massive cuts in public services, massive reduction in living standards, and you are voting to give them more weapons against the right of the Irish people to decide these issues.
Joe, why would Europe want to do that to us? Why would Europe want to take all of these things away from us?